Welcome to the Noneillah Talk Show. And the Noneillah Talk Show actually is in the memory of my son, Sean Cox Mason, Deshaun Johnson, to carry on his mission. Unfortunately, he's not here with me. So today we have our special guest. Correct me if I get your name in, if I announce it incorrectly. Cletus?
It's call me Dr. Cleet.
Dr. Cleet. Okay.
Last name is Bulach, like you lock the door.
Bulach?
Bulach.
Oh, okay. Okay, we have Dr. Cleet. Bulach? Okay. I'm just going to put my headphones on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Why am I not hearing you through this headphone? I think because I'm going through the... Okay, I can use the which one? You was a principal, right?
I've been everything.
You've been every...
Teacher, superintendent, college professor.
Oh.
Retired.
Oh, wow, that's great. You know what? I'm a former teacher.
Oh. You ought to get copies of my book.
I have so many hats just like you. So, today's topic, we're going to talk about, since I'm familiar with the school system, and this is perfect match. You're a principal, a former principal, I'm a former teacher.
Yeah.
So we can go on and talk about the list you gave, or we could talk about our experience in the school system.
You're the boss here, so you pick out anything you want to talk about.
I just like to make my guests feel welcome and comfortable. I know with my challenge as being a teacher, which it was challenging because you get different, you have diverse personalities dealing with kids. And I tell people so many times, teachers are not just teachers. Hey, we also counselors. And I recall in my school years, being a teacher, I had to break up some fight. I'm like, dang, I'm a security guard too.
Yeah.
And I know as a former teacher, what make a school really great is the leadership of the school, meaning the principal.
Amen.
So if you have good leadership, to me, you have a perfect school.
It's kind of like any athletic team. It depends on the coach. You can have the best players in the world and a lousy coach, and the team is not going to perform. The same thing is true of a principal and the teachers and the kids. A lot depends on the leadership. And I have a survey that measures the leadership behavior of the principals. And when I was a college professor, I would ask my students, tell me about the mistakes that your principal makes. And I got all these lists of mistakes that my graduate students said their principal made, and I created a survey out of that. And the survey measures the leadership behavior of the administrators. And it breaks down into 5 factors. One is their knowledge of instruction. One is the way they make decisions. And one is levels of trust. Human relations tends to be the biggest one. That survey is on my website, and it is free to any of your listeners out there who are teachers who want to improve the leadership behavior of their principal. They can take it back and they can use that survey and give the principal feedback on how they are coming across to all the teachers. It's dynamite, really. It's probably the best thing out there on how to evaluate the principals of the school. The correlation between the results of that survey and the culture and climate of the school is like 0.93. So the culture and climate of the school depends on the leadership behavior of the principal. The culture and climate survey is also on my website, and that is also free. There are actually 6 surveys on my website that are free. The culture and climate survey, the leadership behavior survey. There's one on bullying behavior, which is a big factor. If you were a teacher, you saw you didn't see bullying behavior very much,
Right.
but it's there.
Right.
It's in every school. It's roughly 10% of the kids in every school are being bullied, and the
Oh,
teachers
yes.
don't see it because the bully does not act in front of the teacher. It's in the playground, it's in the bathroom, it's in the hallways, it's in the lunchroom. It's where the teacher is not present. No bully bullies kids when a teacher's around. So that's the third survey. The fourth survey measures levels of openness and trust in the school. The fifth survey measures character behavior, because every state in the United States today mandates that schools have a character behavior program, and none of them work, because I evaluated character ed grants in 2 states, West Virginia and Georgia, 4-year grants that they got from the federal government. And I would go in with my survey and I would measure the character behavior of the kids before the grant was put in place. And then a year later, I would measure it again. And strangely enough, after 1 year of implementing their character ed grant, behavior improved. And after year 2, it improved again. After year 3, it went down, did not improve. Year 4, the behavior of the students on character tend to be just as bad as it was before the grant was approved. Why did that happen? Character behavior, these curriculums that they put in, they're mandated in every state to implement, to write up what they're going to do. And the kids say, we did that last year. So there are 28 character traits that most states target, and they do it every year, and the kids are tired of it. The teachers are tired of it.
Yep.
So it doesn't work. In chapter 5, I write about a character ed grant that does work, a character ed program that does work. I don't know whether you want to get into that or not.
We can get enough information. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we can get into that. I mean, it's very good to give enough information out there to our listeners. And like I said, to former teachers, hey, some of the principals can use it as well.
Yeah.
Do you miss the school system?
Mm-hmm.
Did you find it very rewarding?
Can I what?
Did you find the school, being a principal, very rewarding, being a teacher? Because I know you got to be a teacher before principal.
I would never have left teaching, but I had 4 kids and my wife didn't work. So I had to get a better income. So I went into administration and became a principal. And then I got my doctorate degree based on my GI Bill. I was a soldier in the military. You can see my 82nd Airborne hat. I was a paratrooper, and I got my doctorate degree based on my military service, and I became a school superintendent.
Oh.
I was a school superintendent for 14 years. Every moment of being an educator is one of the most rewarding professions any person could ever get into.
That's true, because I have a friend who's a former police officer. Now he's working in the call center. And he asked me, he said, Naomi, do you miss teaching?
What kind of teacher were you?
First, I was working as 7th grade teacher. I was kindergarten teacher. I had worked in a private school first as a kindergarten teacher. And then after that, I worked in Newark. I don't know if you know anything about New Jersey.
Yeah.
At Bellsburg Middle as a 7th grade teacher.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, you're telling me. And I taught math and math, science, and health.
Wow.
And tell me, when I got into the health, in 7th grade, the kids' hormones, especially the boys, it's just like all over the place.
I taught 7th grade too, and I loved it. Let me share a couple of suggestions. I'll run this by you and see what you think about it.
Okay.
When I was a 7th grade teacher, or when I was a teacher, every year at the start of the school year, I would give the kids 3x5 cards. I would give each one 3. And I said, anybody wants more cards? Here, I've got them. I says, I would like to know what you expect of me as your teacher. And they'd look at me like I was crazy. You want us to tell you what we expect?
They normally
I
do.
said, yeah, I'd like to know what you expect of me as your teacher. Write one thing on each card. Okay, so they did that. I would get the cards and I would sort them in the common piles. And I would paraphrase what was in each pile. And I would make up my list and I'd put it up on the chart in front of the classroom. And I said, this is what you expect of me as your teacher. I am going to do my best to meet your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, here's one expectation that a number of you said that I cannot do. And I would read it. I would tell them what it was and why I couldn't do it.
Right.
But I wanted to establish a relationship between me and my students, that I was there working for them. The theme throughout my 2 books is servant leadership. And let me give you a little background on why I wrote those books. In 2002, I got a contract to evaluate every school district in the state of West Virginia. Can you believe that?
Wow.
I have to go to every school district in the state of West Virginia and interview students and teachers about their schools. And the thousands of interviews were amazing because the biggest problem in most schools is human relations, poor human relations. I would say, what do you like about your school? And the kids would say, the teachers. And I would say, what don't you like about your school? They would say, the teachers. I said, wait, what's going on here? And they would say, well, you know, some of the teachers really care about us. They'll listen to us. They really want to help us learn, and they will do their best to do whatever they need to do to get us to get good grades and to learn. And then we've got these other teachers. They don't care about us. They come in with their cup of coffee, put the feet up on the table, and they say, hey guys, I'm your teacher. If you're here to learn, we're going to get along just fine. If you don't care about learning, that's your problem. They don't care about us. All they care about is their paycheck. And they can't wait to retire. So then I went to the teachers and I would say, what do you like about your school? And they would say, the parents. And I'd say, what don't you like about your school? And they'd say, the parents. It's the same dichotomy. Some of these parents will do anything to help us. They are here for us. You know, they will give us money. They will come in our classroom. They'll volunteer. And then we've got these other parents. And they think we're a bunch of jerks.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're smarter than we are.
Oh, yes.
They don't. Their kids come to school and their kids are awful. And so on and so on. And I'd say, I'd say, what else don't you like about your school? And I'd say, the administrators. I said, what don't you like about your school? And I'd say, the administrators. I says, whoa, what about that? They would say, well, you know, some of these administrators, they are here to help us. They really care about us. They are like a servant to us. And then we've got these other administrators. They don't care about us. All they want, they're self-serving. All they want to do is get their name somewhere and move on to a better job. So you've got this thing in schools about which people are there to serve you and which people are there self-serving. And many teachers, even you, if I were to ask you, are you a servant leader or a self-serving leader?
Is that a question? Should I answer?
Yeah.
I would say I was servant leader instead of self-servant, because it's not all about me. It's about the education of the students And what I found, some of the students really get lost in the system if they don't have a teacher who's caring. See, I'm going to share my little experience when I was teaching 7th grade. When I was teaching 7th grade, I have like diversity of kids with different learning style. And some people don't realize, well, some teacher, because I tell people, there's a different people, a person who can come in the school system, they can have a degree, but someone don't have an education degree. Like for me, my degree is in education. I'm an educator, So as being an educator and went to school for education, I learned the foundation of class managerial skills, which is very important.
Very much. That's the biggest problem in most schools is discipline.
Exactly. If you have poor managerial skills as a teacher, you got chaos in the classroom. Okay. Yeah. And the second thing that I learned going to college, being an educator, learning style.
Yeah.
And teaching style.
Yeah.
You got to make sure the learning style meets with the teaching style, because the learning style, if off balance with the teaching style, some of the kids cannot learn, like audio, kinetic, hands-on, visual. So when I was teaching 7th grade, I incorporate all of that when I was teaching. I had one student who was below average of in 7th grade. He was really supposed to be in special ed. However, he did learn, because what I did, I focused on each student learning style and make my teaching style actually helpful with their learning styles. And believe it or not, a lot of people, like when they went to 8th grade, they're like, who was your math teacher? They said, Miss Johnson. Oh, some of the kids, when I say they came out on top level of math. Because why? I was not self-serving. I was in tune with them. And not only that, because I am a parent, and just imagine having my son in school and the teacher teaching my child incorrectly. They're going to go through the life and learning something wrong, So I know with the kids, when I had them, like, oh, Miss Johnson, you're not like the other teacher. Because a student asked me a question, and I told them, well, I don't know. What do you don't know? You're a teacher. And, everybody put the teacher on a pedestal, in which they should. They're like, all the teachers, they don't say that. I say, you know why? Because I'm truthful with myself. If I don't know, I turn it into a lesson in a minute. I said, you know what? We all going to have a lesson. And they got to the point they stopped asking me. They said, oh, Miss Johnson's going to make it a lesson. I'm not going to tell you I know and give you something, teach you something wrong. That's not fair to them. Especially if some are going to college. They competing with some people who from an urban school district. Because I was working in urban school district. They were competing with people who's in suburban area, rural area. In some school district, in some towns, they have good school district. So yes, I think it's very important to be in tune and not to fail the students. That's what I think.
That's absolutely correct. That's one of the reasons why I start each year with, what do you expect of me as your teacher? Because out there, you've got all these different kids, black, white, rich, poor.
Exactly.
And they all come from different cultures. So they all have different expectations. Mm-hmm. So if you can meet their expectations, you have a relationship with them. So your teaching style can be modified to meet the expectations of the students. Now, we talked about discipline as being the major problem in almost all classrooms. Okay? Mm-hmm. Here's how I dealt with that. A week or so into the school year, I would give them 3x5 cards again. And I would say, hey guys, I want to know what you think the rules ought to be in our classroom. I'm being a servant leader. I'm serving them. Okay? Mm-hmm. These are my 2 techniques to come across as a servant leader. What do you expect of me as your teacher? Mm-hmm. What rules do you want in this classroom? They say, you want us to tell you what the rules are? I says, yeah, I'd like to know what you think the rules ought to be in this classroom. So they give me one rule on each of the 3x5 cards. I says, anybody need more 3x5 cards? And usually they didn't. So I would get the cards and I would sort them into common piles because there's one rule on each card. And I would come up with 10 rules that they had where there were the most in each pile. And I would put them on a white poster board and post them up on the wall. And when it went up, and there was one rule they seldom made, and it was turn your homework in on time. So I put that rule on there because they didn't know that I put it on there.
Right.
But when the rules went up, they would look at it. To look at my students when those rules went up, I wrote that rule. I wrote that rule, and on across the classroom. The kids would say, that's my rule. I wrote that rule. So when those rules go up there and they break the rules, whose rules are they breaking?
Their rules.
Their own.
Mm-hmm.
So when I enforce the rule, what am I doing? I'm doing what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, normally in every classroom, you've got a kid who acts out.
Oh, yeah.
You know that.
Yes, I remember one of my students, he's embedded in my head.
Now, you know what my favorite discipline technique was when that kid acted out? I would go to the students and I'd say, hey guys, you think I should send so-and-so to the principal's office for what he just did? Give me a thumbs up if you agree. You know what?
What?
Almost always the students would send the kid to the principal's office. Who sent the kid to the principal's office?
The students. Their peers. They classmates, they peers and themselves.
What is the most important factor in student behavior in a school? It's peers, right?
Yes.
You know that. You were
Yes.
a teacher.
Yes.
If the peer group supports the bully, what's the bully going to do? Keep bullying. If the peer group supports the kid who's acting out, what's the kid who's acting out going to do?
Gonna continue on acting out.
Yep, keep on acting out.
That's they cheerleaders back there.
Now,
that's what I call.
You know, when I graduated high school, I was 5'4" and weighed 125 pounds. I was the smallest kid in the high school graduating class. Guess who the class clown was? Me. I would sit in the back of the room and I would raise my arm and create sounds. I would act out. I would put a thumbtack on the teacher's seat underneath the cushion.
Oh, God.
I would put an ice cube under the cushion. You know, when the ice cube melted and the teacher felt that water coming up through their cushion, the look on the teacher's face and the other kids in the classroom, they loved me. So, you know, when you do this technique, hey guys, do you want to send this kid to the principal for what they just did? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Almost always it was thumbs up. That kid who was always acting out straightened up real fast because the peer group did not like what they were doing. In my case, they loved me for what I did. So when it comes to discipline, in my book, I described 4 distinct school cultures, okay?
Yes.
You were probably one of the 75% where discipline, reward, and punishment were the 2 things that made the classroom go. When kids acted out, they got punished. If they didn't act out, they got a reward, okay? That's 75% of the schools. I call that the traditional classroom. In the non-traditional classroom, the focus is on rewards, not punishment. That is maybe 25 to 30% of the schools in the United States. There are a few, maybe 5% of the schools in the United States what I call the laissez-faire school, where the rules are really loose and things are lax. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been in a school like that.
Yes, I have.
It's a disaster. Then there's this other kind of school, which I ran into in West Virginia, and I couldn't believe it. And that's why I wrote the books. Okay. I went into this middle school one day. That's where 7th grades, 6, 7, and 8.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And locker time before school opened up was 10 minutes long. I said, what is this? I says, why are you giving the kids 10 minutes to go to the locker? He says, oh, that's their reward. I says, for what? He says, well, yesterday, there were only 10 redirects in the entire school. I says, what do you mean redirects? He says, there were only 10 times when a teacher had to correct a kid. He says, in the entire school? He says, yeah, only 10 times. I says, how in the world did you do that? I mean, you were in the 7th, you taught 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
You had more than 10 redirects in your one classroom,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, I had, Doctor.
This was a middle school with 365 kids. What in the world's going on here? I says, how in the world did you ever do that? He says, well, when we started this 10 years ago, we had over 100 redirects a day. And we went to the kids and we says, look, we're tired of controlling you. If you will help us and control your own behavior and each other's behavior, we'll give you an extra 5 minutes of locker time. In the elementary schools where this works, we give them an extra 5 minutes of recess. And you know, when you ask the kids to control themselves, they will do it.
Yes.
Because they want
that reward.
They want the reward.
Yeah.
So you get a school where discipline is no longer a problem, a classroom where discipline is no longer a problem, by asking them to control their own behavior. And I'm sure you did this, Naomi. When you had a bad day, did you ever go to the kids and say, hey guys, I don't feel too good today. How about help me out? Did you ever do that?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Well, I did. When I didn't feel good and I had a cold, or I never had a sick day in my entire school career.
Sound like me.
If I had the flu, I went to school.
Yeah.
If I had a cold, I went to school. But when I had a bad day, I'd go to the kids and say, hey guys, I don't feel too good today. How about help me out? And do you know the kids? They would help me out. I didn't have to do anything. They took control of the classroom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you had that. I always had one person, they always call him teacher's pet, but I call him a responsible student. Mm-hmm. And I know one time, I'm just like you, I never missed a day. And so one of the students said to me, this is when I was teaching 7th graders, and they said, Miss Johnson, all the other teachers, because they was changing classes, they're like, all the other teachers took sick day. Why you never out? They said, you're never absent. Mm-hmm. I said, well, because I love you all. But I'm just like you. Even if I come with the cold, normally the student would know, and I really didn't come like unhappy, but when they do know if I'm sick, they're like, Miss Johnson, you don't look well. Do you need help? They volunteer their services. And I would say, oh, sure. I assign you to do this. I assign you to do that. Kids, they like to have, some of them like to have responsibilities, especially when it's over their peers. They feel like, oh, I'm in charge now. Miss Johnson put me in charge, so you got to listen to me.
That's right.
And they love that.
The secret to being a good teacher, a good mom, any kind of leader throughout the book is, how do you give control to people without giving it up? Which is what you did. Mm-hmm. You gave them control, but you didn't give it up. When they don't do what they're supposed to do, did you take it back?
When they didn't do what they're supposed to do, did I take it back? Yes, I did.
Absolutely.
I sure enough did.
That's what a good leader does. You give control, but you don't give it up. That's what parents do. They give control to their kids, but when the kids don't do what they're supposed to do, you take it back.
I'm sorry to intervene here. You just, when you had gave a story when you was a child and you put a thumbtack. I remember when I first started in the school system, I was substitute teacher. And I was in a class, a student did that to me. And I'm seeing why everybody, because all the students looking at me, I'm like, why are they staring at me? I sat on a thumbtack. I jumped up, they started laughing. Well, I was like livid. I'm like, okay, who did that? Of course, some of them not going to tell. But I had one student pulled me to the side because he didn't want to tell in front of everybody. So he comes to me like, Miss Johnson, such and such did it. He had whispered to me who did it. And so later on, I knew. So what I would do, I would write them up. Meaning, no, I would have them sit. I won't have them go to recess. All the kids, they like that extra time running around. But I would say, nope, this is what you did. You can't go outside. Which actually, some of them, when they know special recess, the younger kids, when you take that away, next time they on their good behavior, because it's like that extra recess running around they like.
Yeah.
And that's what I have done. I had took it away. Even when my kids in 7th grade, I remember I was absent one time because it was a family emergency. So the next door teacher, she said, and I had I called my little spy. She would email me and she gave me a little list of people who act out. So when I came back, I said, yeah, you did this, you did that. And they're like, how you know? But the next door teacher, like, when I came back, she said, Miss Johnson, I knew you wasn't there. I knew you wasn't there because when you're there, the kids are very quiet. And the reason why I did that, sort of piggyback what you just said, how you give out the cue card. When I first get my first batch of new students, what I do, I have them write an essay and say, okay, tell me about your summer. See, that gets me to learn about them. So I have a question, I tell them, give me a small summary about your summer. What you like about it, what you didn't like. What did you do?
That's great. That's a great idea. Let me share with you a technique that I used that was kind of like that. It wasn't an essay about what you did last summer. I would say, okay, guys, we're going to do a PMI today.
Mm-hmm.
Positive, minus, and interesting. PMI. And I would have them get into groups of 5, always an odd group, because I didn't want kids to pair up. So there were groups, an odd group, either groups of 3 or groups of 5. And I would say, I want you to discuss with each other what happened this past summer or last week or last month. I did this maybe a half dozen times during the year,
Mm-hmm.
after the Christmas break, after the spring break. What did you do that was positive, that was a minus, and that was interesting? When you say, what did you do that was positive, you allow kids to brag,
Right.
which is different.
Mm-hmm.
Because most kids love to brag, but when you brag, it's many times a turnoff. But when you say, I want you to tell me what was positive, then you say, I want you to tell me what was negative. So you encourage them to list the negatives,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't always happen. Then you say, what was interesting, which is probably the most interesting part of that activity, because what they come up with that they think is interesting. So you learn. So then you go to each group and you say, okay, I want you to report out what was the most positive thing that was said in this group. Okay. So you see, you don't want to take an hour to do this. So basically in 15 minutes, you can do this activity, but you report out from each group what was the most positive thing, the most negative thing, and the most interesting thing. So you get feedback from all of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But more interesting part of this activity is the kids learn about each other in their group. They get to share things about themselves with the other kids. So the kids get to learn about the other kids. You've got all these different cultures there. You've got rich kids, you've got poor kids, you've got black kids, you've got white kids, you've got Latinos, you've got Orientals. They come from all walks of life, and they don't know each other. But with this activity, every 6 times a year or so, you do this activity, they get to know each other. They get to work together.
Now,
And
Ken,
you get to find out about them. Go ahead.
now, did your same method work for like the middle school with the college? Because you said you taught college, correct? You was a professor in college.
Yeah.
So did the same technique that you use in the middle school works the same way?
Yeah.
In college students?
It works anywhere. In church, you get all the parishioners together and put them into groups. What was positive, minus, and interesting? In any group, Kiwanis, Lions, I was president of Lions, I was president of Kiwanis, I've been president of Rotary, I was president of the Chamber of Commerce. I used the same technique all in every group to get people to know each other and interact and relate to each other. So it wasn't just me running it.
Right. I was part of the Rotary as well.
Yeah. You were part of what?
I was a part of the Rotary Club as well.
Okay. See, the same thing would work there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it works anywhere.
Yes. Even as adults, because some people feel that only children like awards. Adults like awards to be rewarded as well, because I also taught teaching English as a foreign language in a language school in Elizabeth.
Where?
Is an English, like people from different cultures, they have to learn English, and it was called an English school in Elizabeth.
Oh.
So what I did, I went back to school and got my teaching English as a foreign language and teaching business English and all that at Bloomfield College, and also Oxford Seminar, and they had a satellite class at Rutgers in Newark campus.
All right. You've had a lot of different experiences.
I stay in school.
MI is a great activity for any meeting before the meeting starts. It's a warm-up activity. It gets everybody to feel good.
Right.
And it doesn't take long. Usually 5 minutes to share their PMI, and then 5 minutes to report out. If you've got a very small group, let's say a dozen, then you let each individual come up with their own PMI.
Right.
And I would role model that, and I would say, here is my PMI for the last week or the last month or the last year. And I would report my positive, minus, and interesting. I said, now you know what you need to do. Come up with your own PMI, and I'm going to ask you to report out. You got a small group, I would do each individual. I would say, give me a positive. And I would do every person in the group to give me their positive. Then I would go to each person again, and I would say, give me your negative. And I would go to each person. Then I would say, give me your interesting. And I would go to each person. I didn't have each person give me their positive, minus, and interesting, because I wanted the group to shift. I wanted them to reflect on each person's positive, each person's minus, each person's interesting. There are a lot of different things, techniques. For example, teacher's pet. I would give the kids a 3x5 card. I would say, who do you want to be my assistant this month? And I'd let the kids pick who they thought should be my assistant. So I didn't pick my teacher's pet. I did the same thing. You know, bullying is one of the major factors in a school.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I would go to the kids and I would say, if you had a birthday party, who would you invite to your birthday party? Okay. So I'd get all the kids' names and I would find out who was invited to the birthday party. almost always there is one or two kids in the classroom that were never invited. Guess who the bullies pick on?
Hmm.
The ones who don't get invited.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because if you have friends, the bully doesn't pick on you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want your friends to get even.
Right.
So I think that's called, if you think back in your teaching career, did you ever hear of the sociogram?
That's like dealing with the social community of among the kids. No?
The sociogram identifies who in the school is an isolate.
Oh, I didn't have heard of that.
Yeah. So a good counselor does this for the entire school. They find out who in the school doesn't have any friends. Now, when I was a principal and a new kid came to school, I had my leadership team of students who were the role models for the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I would assign the new kid entering the school to one of my leadership students. So they had a friend, and I would say, okay, I want you to take care of this kid for a week.
Right.
You show them where everything is, you help them, and you make sure that there are other kids in the school who are their friends. Okay. That was my technique for making sure that the new kid coming to school. Now, in my junior year, my kids switched me to another school. I went into my junior year, and I didn't know any kids in that school. I had no friends. And one kid comes up to me and says, "Man, am I glad to see you?" And I said, "Why do you say that?" He says, "I'm no longer the littlest kid in my grade." It was a horrible experience for me. High school for me were the 4 worst years of my life. Anyway, it's good to be talking to a fellow educator.
Yes.
You know some of the things I went through. Where would you like to go with this?
I remember, I'm sorry, I remember when I recalled when I was subbing, before I became a full-time teacher, but when I was subbing, I was working at Shabbat High School in Newark. That was a wake-up experience for me. I'm walking down the hallway, and I see the lockers on fire. I'm like, oh my gosh, and here I'm so hysterical. And the other teacher just walking past like, hey, there's Norm. What you getting all excited for? And I'm like, do you guys see this locker burn? I'm like so hysterical. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And I said, where's the security guard? Security like, oh, they do this almost like 3 times out of the week. He just tucked the fire extinguisher, put the fire out, and went on by their business. So apparently that person locker, later on I found out that some other child had like problems with each other, argument, and they scorched their whole lockup up.
Wow.
And then after that, I walk, as on the next day I see the kids in the hallway with dice. I'm like, is this a little school, what you call that? Gambling? They was gambling in the hallway. There was actually, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not looking at this. They sitting there shooting crabs, money too. I'm like, they like in their little, is this like a little Atlantic City in Shabazz High School? And that was my shocking, I call it shocking experience.
See, that's
working in high school.
That was 75% of the schools in the United States today is that culture where here's the problem with that kind of school. The kids wait for a teacher or the administrator or the security guard to stop the bad behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what's wrong with our school. When the kids stop it, you have a totally different environment.
Yeah.
So when I set up this school where the kids control each other's behavior, when the bully acts out, the other kids stop the bully. When a kid acts out, the other kids stop the kid acting out. So you've got this culture of control in most schools today where the kids wait for the administration or the teachers to stop the bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's the culture that's wrong in our schools. When the kids change the bad behavior, I call it the citizenship school, because what do good citizens do? They work with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They help each other. It's not top-down control.
Mm-hmm.
It's each person helps control what's wrong in our society.
Right.
Which in some cases is what's wrong with our political system today too.
Ugh.
You got the Republicans and the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Are they here for the citizens of the United States? No.
Nope. Nah.
They're here for their own party.
Self. Right, for themselves.
Yeah.
I concur.
It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And you take school systems today, you've got the AFT and the other teacher organization.
Is it what's it?
Um,
Not YouTube. I know that I forget the other acronym. I know what you talk about. Mm-hmm.
But you've got basically two teacher organizations. They aren't here for the kids. They're here for their own system.
Yeah.
I was an officer in the AFT, and I led the first large city school strike in the state of Ohio. Had them out for 2 weeks. You think we were there for the kids? No, we were there for our AFT.
Mm-hmm.
And OEA is the other one.
Which was it?
OEA.
Okay.
Educators Association.
Okay. I only have my phone. I was going to check.
Anyway, those two fight each other all the time. It's like the Republicans and the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
But they're for their own organization. They are not there for the citizens. They are not there for the students or the teachers. Anyway, I got off base there a little bit. Where would you like to go with this?
In terms of going with what?
How much time do we have?
I have like 3 more minutes here. So, I mean, we can always connect. I mean, it's a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Cleton. I'm going to get your name. Clayton. I got doctor, right? Yes, I have. Well, we have 2 more minutes. I enjoy the conversation, especially.
Yeah, I enjoyed interacting with you.
Yeah,
I
like
don't
what?
always interact with teachers, with people with your background. My last comment would be, God put us on this earth to serve. You're here to serve. That is our role. Serving self is also important. You cannot serve others if you don't serve self first. Mentally, physically, and emotionally, you have to serve yourself first. On top, but your role in doing that is so that you can better serve others. Our role in life is to give control to others to serve. But we also are put on this earth to control what happens in this world. So we must take control back when people don't do what they're supposed to do. Give control to others without giving it up. That's our role as parents, as leaders, as teachers.
I agree. You can, it's the thing, giving control to self, but you can't be selfish.
You're right.
So there's a difference. Yes. When it becomes selfish, then after that, it's all about oneself.
Yes, you're right.
So, and I agree with you. Well, it was a pleasure. And we can reschedule again if you want to do another podcast with the Noneillah Talk Show.
Well, we haven't talked much about human relations.
No, we haven't. But we can reschedule and talk about it.
Well, we can do that. I would love to do that. We can talk about what are life's 5 basic needs. We can talk about how do you beat openness and trust? How do you deal with conflict? What are the 9 forms of power? How do you control and motivate other people?
Well,
So,
Dr. Cleve, I'm going to reschedule this because, like I said, I enjoyed talking to you, and like you said, get you to give more information out there to our listeners, because I think it's very important to learn the political about the school system, you know, as well as the educated part about the school system and administrative part. We have to know all folds, and sometimes what we talk about can help other people, especially new teachers and new principals. Can you please give people where they can reach out to you?
well, my website is, you probably have it. So when you do your podcast or whatever you're going to do with this, send it to me.
Oh, of course.
But my website is www.westga, West Georgia, westga.edu / Ypsilon, that little squiggly up in the left-hand corner of the keyboard, and C as in cat, B as in boy, ULACH. Everything on my website is free.
Do you have any social media? Social media? Are you on Instagram,
I'm
Facebook?
on LinkedIn, and I will post your podcast on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I've got anybody can log on to my special Facebook page called Improving Our Schools. There's a lot of material there about human relations, improving our schools. So join that Facebook page, and you can read all of my publications on there. And then I have my own Facebook page, Cletus Bulach. Anybody can join my Facebook page.
Well, listeners, we like to thank Dr. Cleton. You know, I'm going to get it right. Did I say it right? So I know I said it. We're gonna have him back. I mean, it was a stimulating conversation to me because we have so much in common. Hey.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We're gonna have him back to the Noneillah Talk Show. Thank you for listening to the Noneillah Talk Show.
Thank you for interacting with me, Naomi.
Before we go, how's the coronavirus treating you?
So far, I have not had a problem. How is it? You're quarantined, right?
Yes, we're quarantined.
But you don't suffer any side effects.
Me per se, or in general, people?
You.
No, I don't suffer side effects because I've been in a house. Well, I go back and forth. Unfortunately, that's another topic about what happened to my son. So I can't stay quarantined with my family member. Unfortunately, he's not here with me because a bus driver had killed him, jumped the curb and killed my son. So I'm like,
Your son.
Say that again, please.
What happened to your son?
It's so painful. You can Google Deshaun Johnson. It's all online. The story about what happened to us. There's a lot of videos. I did a lot of talk shows about what happened to him, the injustice, what's going on, the corruption, the cover up. As we speak, that I'm still fighting for justice because of the corrupt system we have.
Yeah.
And political corruption.
I hear that. When I was a school superintendent, I would, and a parent, one of the teachers had a kid, a newborn, I would send them a letter with their certificate of the year their kid would graduate from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I would write a letter to them and I'd say, may the problems that your kids causes you be overcome by the joy they bring you. There is nothing worse. I've got one kid who has caused me innumerable problems. And it is a pain. It hurts. It hurts. Nothing can hurt worse than your kids.
My son, he was in the Honor Society. He went to King University. He went to college. He's actually established music artist, go under the name Sean Mason. He also was a young entrepreneur like his mother, and his business was called Noneillah, which I'm trying to run the best of my ability along with fighting for justice. But you can Google his name. His biological birth name is Deshon Johnson, John.
Write that down. S-H-O.
Deshon. And last name Johnson.
Sean Johnson.
Yes, Deshaun here. Deshaun, let me see. D-E-S. I'm gonna I don't know if you can open up your screen. I'm spelling his name on the side in the chat. Do you see it?
I gotta exit full screen and open up another. Okay. I'm typing in Sean Johnson.
Deshaun, D-E-S-H-O-N.
What is that?
If you go into Zoom, you see Google Chat in Zoom.
No, I'm on another. Another web.
Oh, you're on on the internet itself. Okay, D-E-S-H-O-N. D.
Okay. D-E-S-H-O-N.
Yes, Johnson. J-O-H-N-S. Okay.
Oh, Deshaun Johnson murder.
Yep. The driver purposely ran my son over, jumped the curb, and ran my son over, not once but twice, and then dragged him.
Yeah, I see it. I see the wet videos of the.
Yes.
Murder.
Yes.
That's horrible.
And the prosecutor fabricated and said the driver wasn't speeding, but may God be the glory. The video that I had the original video. At the time it happened, I couldn't convert it, but YouTube had converted it. And it shows the driver was speeding. The witness said, oh, he was going slow, but on the videos don't lie. You see the driver sped around the corner fast and jumped the curb. What the prosecutor had fabricated and said, oh, the driver wasn't speeding, he went around the curb slow, but the video shows the truth.
Yeah, it's all here.
Yes, it's all up there.
Oh God, I feel so bad for you.
And I'm trying not to cry, but I'm still fighting for justice and the corruption. It's deeper than that.
That's a pity that you have to go through all this.
Yes.
I'm gonna look this up. Okay.
But I will.
And good luck with dealing with this.
Okay.
You seem like a strong person.
I'm trying to.
You seem like a true servant leader. So I look forward to interacting with you the next time.
Okay.
And we'll talk about life's 5 basic needs.
Okay, I will email you and reschedule you, or have somebody on my team to reschedule a nice availability. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, you know I'm new at this. I'm trying to. There you go. Thank you for watching.
Noneillah. I'm about my money, no dummy, I'm an untrained. But my thought process is different, y'all think the same. Think of you and anyone else you came with. I am mental, my stencils are something stainless. Hop out on your homie ride, about my homie